This movie is ambitious as hell. It is another film about a transformative visionary with a guilty conscience. It is pensive in its morality. A few parts of it don't work, but God, is the spectacle of it all so engrossing. And it does read like an amalgamation of every Christopher Nolan film and distinctly is rooted in Greek mythology, and it's a pretty solid adaptation of Homer's Odyssey. Nolan's direction is a highlight, as is Hoyte van Hoytema's best cinematography for a Nolan film. It looks absolutely incredible all of the time. Ludwig Göransson's score is really good, and the escalation and quieter moments work very well, though it is my least favorite of his pairing with Nolan's films, just because I'm not beckoned to listen to it outside of the film. The cast is generally pretty good as well. Characterizations in this are a bit of a spectrum, though in how dense this film is, it conveys its story very interesting and very entertaining. It hits its core thematic ideas very well and carves a unique interpretation of Homer's Odyssey on a massive scale. It is absolutely worth going to see in a theater. I know you probably don't need my opinion to tell you that. I do want to get into spoilers because there is a lot more to talk about, so let's do that right now. It's funny how many people think the last hour is so crucial because the journey of the damned is far more interesting in reflection for me, and that's about the first 2 hours of the film. The core theme is this idea of irreversible change and the guilty conscience of a brilliant tactician. This is very fitting because of Nolan's previous film, Oppenheimer, is morally similar in many ways. Though I appreciate here how Odysseus finds a synthesis to his situation in combining his unique lens with the act of defying the gods, specifically Zeus's law. This reminds me of a lot of Nolan films, like I was saying. The training scene with Telemachus reminds me of how Bruce and Henry Ducard, wink wink, are training in Batman Begins. The escalation in action remind me of how the score is utilized to build tension in Tenet. The naval combat and sound are indicative of Dunkirk, especially with that scale as well. It's similar to the scope of Interstellar, but as a fantasy film, and shares a thematic tether to the idea of a lie being exposed, similar to what he does in The Dark Knight Rises. This interpretation focuses on Odysseus lying, and that's kind of also the core of the film, and bestowing that lens of treachery to humanity and the baggage that kind of comes with it. There's an interesting contrast where gods have a problem being deceptive themselves and are very manipulative, but such is Zeus's law, to treat strangers the way that you want to be treated, for you might be in the company of a god and you might not know it. There is a manipulative moral core, where being the tactician that Odysseus is helps his motive in the fall of Troy, but also in the fall of morality and irreversible change within the landscape of Greek mythology, love, and war during such a pivotal time. The Odyssey finds its compelling narrative in showing a fuck around and find out story. Nolan really loves Stanley Kubrick. That is a huge tenet of his films. I totally see it here. The consequence is near instantaneous and is harbored by unseen gods for most of the film. And in that, I love how it sticks to the metaphor. Even when you know what's coming, you see the suffering throughout this nonlinear story as a cohesive idea. It truly feels massive to the pedigree of Greek mythology and the spectacle of how it can be shown in a film. Now, the ending is a bit of a change from the poem, where in the poem, divine intervention happens, but I kind of like what Nolan did here to a degree, though there could be more of an opportunity to give closure to Odysseus while he's setting his world right. Nolan's ending is a bit too happy for the harsh misgivings of learning in this world, and metaphorically speaking, it would have been interesting to see Odysseus die with Penelope or have like a little bit of resolution, and Telemachus could have a more character-centered journey to succeed him, but we'll get to that later. Nolan's technical superiority and a few key performances really bring this to life. Visually, I always felt immersed in this world. The production and practical effects look incredible. The Cyclops is a 60-foot practical puppet, looks phenomenal. Circe's scene might be one of my favorites in the whole film, and how she changes the shape of Odysseus's men into pigs is horrifying. This is likely Christopher Nolan's most horror-centered film, and in that element, it works great, especially with minimal lighting of the time, though I will say some daylight shots are a little bit overexposed. It is not that often, though. The few bits of CGI are excellently placed and executed. I saw this in 70mm IMAX at the AMC Lincoln Center. It was an absolute privilege having this completely filmed in that format. It is as remarkable as it sounds. Speaking of sounds, the sound design fits Nolan's typical bill. It works, and only certain fragments of dialogues are skewed, but otherwise pretty solid and usually adding to the immersion. He likes his movies loud, and I think that works for him as a director, especially when it's not obscuring too much dialogue. This is the best Matt Damon performance I've seen in a hot minute. He is a great lead, and you feel palpable emotion and dread from him once everything comes into his unique perspective. He fully comprehends how his decision to lie will doom his men and takes every measure to prevent this, though it is a vain pursuit. I was also surprised how good John Leguizamo is. Anne Hathaway is pretty good in here as well. She has a very emotional performance, as is Robert Pattinson. Quick note about Pattinson's character. He plays a highly similar version to the same character he did in the movie The King, which was from, I believe, 2019, a few years back. He is an exceptional actor, having a fantastic year. And some of my gripes do lend itself to Nolan's writing, where I think he has some beautiful moments of this, very poignant writing, and some clunky ones as well, especially with dialogue or character dynamic. Even though Tom Holland has a good emotional beat in this, especially one scene, when you step back and see some of these characterizations and the length, especially at the end, you kind of see the blemishes on this film. Holland's character here feels like he's lacking substantial weight to the plot where he is a main player. I feel his crown for Ithaca is unearned. His development in the plot is mostly talking war stories with John Bernthal's character and killing one guy at the end of the film pretty poorly. How does this earn him the throne? I just don't buy it. He's meant to be a vessel for personal discovery and fulfillment, but this role is truly embodied by Odysseus, who initiates everything at the end of the film and essentially repeats his own history. I find that this works for better and for worse. The escalation getting to the ending feels like a lot of what I would cut. It is just a little bit too drawn out. The claim of the throne isn't as interesting as Odysseus's peril being tested by the gods once he disobeys their law. I'm interested in the lessons learned once the consequences begin and the horror which comes with it. Naturally, this is the War of Troy, but develops further with the Cyclops, giant soldiers, the witch, sirens, talking to the undead, and so on. His affect is connected to Athena and how he feels the weight of the changing world, the ramifications it has on himself, his men, and just the world at large. Odysseus is indeed a larger-than-life character, living that same lifestyle, and it works excellently, and feels like Nolan's new brand of dread and terror. Let's see some more horror from him. The lighting and imagery here is great when it is firing, which is a lot of the time. Ultimately, this is a pretty good interpretation all around. It's one where you can start dissecting the story the more it goes on, but even with the gripes I have, nobody is making films like this aside maybe Denis Villeneuve. The scale is tremendous. It absolutely warrants being seen in the biggest and loudest possible way because the spectacle is there and it's very well fulfilled. And when are we going to see something this ballistic and big again? Until Nolan makes his next film or until Dune? It's a very small handful of filmmakers that can do this. This is what the theatrical experience is all about, and that alone makes it worth watching. It is a pretty strong 8 out of 10 for me. If you can see this in 70mm IMAX, it's so worth it. The Dune 3 preview was fantastic. It's a very early scene from the film and the book. Let me know if you're interested. I have read several of the Dune books. I love Messiah, which Dune 3 is mostly based off of, and I'm very interested to see where he's going to turn with it. Entering a D-Day type situation. It's mostly like the Fremen, specifically Stilgar, with a giant group of people advancing on enemy territory that is very volatile. A character's body is juggled by gunfire in this, and wow, that image just very much sticks in my head. Absolutely go see the Odyssey. Form your own opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments about it. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I am back from my trip. I had a great time and I got a lot to share with you guys in the future. There will be a review for Her Private Hell probably sometime tomorrow. I will have my Spider-Man review. It's going to be a bit late, but I got a few other things that I'd like to talk about. One thing that I did want to address really quick is I notioned to everybody last week that I was considering doing a Nolan ranking. I was looking at my Nolan ranking a lot. I've seen everything he's done. Some of these films, I'd say a little over half of them, I haven't seen in several years. And I don't know if I'm at the point where I want to like rewatch everything just yet. And I don't think it's fair to give a proper ranking because I want something fresh and consistent where I am right now, rather than to give you just general thoughts that I've had over the years that could absolutely change. A rewatch does a lot for a film. It can solidify something that you love even more, or you can kind of step back and look at it in a different light. Maybe you like it more, maybe you like it less, maybe you don't connect with it as much, maybe you do. I appreciate y'all tuning in so much. I absolutely love doing this. Thank you guys so much for getting me to 20,000 subscribers. That is an incredible mark to hit. I am just very humbled by the support that this channel has got, and it means the world to me. So thank you for continuing to tune in. Please like and subscribe if you have not already. If you like this content or get something out of my reviews, please just continue to follow. Tell anybody that you think might be interested. Share these reviews. I would love that. We will have some original content coming out, hopefully semi-soon. Some of my New York journey has a little bit of that, but I am kind of building to something for what it's worth. It's going to be a little bit of a slow build, but I think it's going to be very worth it, and it's going to be kind of reflective of my experience of being a critic for all these years. Yeah, I might not be the biggest critic, but I've done it for a damn long time, and it's interesting to see other things like Anthony Fantano and his whole thing with Halsey right now. I think that's something very interesting to write about, just in how... Anywho, thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all doing well. We will talk again very soon. Go out and see this. Let me know what you've been watching, what you've been into. Let me know your favorite Christopher Nolan films are. I'd probably have to say mine would be The Dark Knight or Memento if we want to talk about it. Yeah, those films are great. This is definitely upper echelon Nolan for me, though, and I like the direction he's going. He's keeping it fresh. He's keeping it interesting, and nobody makes them like him. All right. Thank you for your time. Have a good one. We'll talk soon. Bye.